And here we are. It is Tuesday, March 18th, 2025. And we are glad you're here to the Joe Hoff Show. We got a lot going on, so much going on. We're going to have breaking news this week. Going to blow you away. We're going to blow you away with some breaking news this week. And really excited about that. We've got a lot of great guests this week. Really excited about that, and we're staying on top of the news cycle, which is absolutely exploding. And so, really excited about that. So much going on; it's hard to keep up. We're gonna decipher it for you, and more not really decipher it. We're gonna report it and bring it to manageable size because there's so much going on. If you just want to spend 1 hour understand what's going on, come to the Joe Hoff Show. We're going to cover the news as we always do, top stories, and then we'll bring in some of the greatest hosts that you can find or guests that you can find, and it's just going to be fantastic for you. Today we got a great guest. It's going to be a lot of fun. Wait till you see who's coming in today and every day. We've had just some great guests of late. Christina Bobb, one of the first interviews she's done in months, was on our show last week. Just a number of these January Sixers, Stuart Rhodes, Enrique Tarrio. The list goes on and on. We're going to have another January Sixer this week. It's just, we're going to tell you the truth. And that's all that's our job, I think. And I'm happy to do so. So anyways, buckle up. Lots going on, by the way. If you want some truth in person, I'll be in St. Louis again on April 4th through 6th of next month, early next month, about 2 weeks away, roughly. Today's the 18th. So about 2 weeks from now, I'll be there, and I can't wait. And look forward to seeing you. And we'll be sharing alongside Ann Vandersteel and a number of really great talks and great people. It'll be in St. Charles, actually, outside of St. Louis, at the Drury Inn. So look forward to that. Hopefully you can make it that Saturday and Sunday. Should be a great time, and hope to meet you then. So I want to remind you that I will continue to up until that day. So thanks, and thanks for supporting us. If you can't make it, send a couple bucks to United Sovereign Americans, USA, because they are putting it together and they are great. This Harry Hari, Marley Hornick, and team, and great teams around the country, great data specialists. So they're doing great work, and it's an honor to be there. It'll be really a lot of fun coming up. So anyways, I want to remind you of that. So much going on in the news, though. We're going to cut right through it and to it. One individual on President Trump's team, among many superstars, is none other than Stephen Miller. He has been blasting the deep state with the truth. It's all the truth. They continue with their lies, and Miller just lets them have it. Here's a clip of clips of Stephen Miller. He's fantastic. Take a look.
You may assert there's no waste in the Pentagon. You may assert there's no waste in
Stephen,
Treasury.
I'm not
you may assert there's no waste in HHS.
Stephen, I don't think anyone...
Then why are you not celebrating these cuts? If you agree there is waste, if you agree there is abuse, if you agree there is corruption, why are you not celebrating the cuts, the reforms that are being instituted? It is true that many of the people in this room for 4 years failed to cover the fact that Joe Biden was mentally incompetent. It is also true that many people in this room who have used this talking point that Elon is not elected fail to understand how government works. So I'm glad for the opportunity for a brief civics lesson. What President Trump is doing is he is removing federal bureaucrats who are defying democracy by failing to implement his lawful orders, which are the will of the whole American people. We have these giant cavernous office buildings in Washington, D.C., carved out of marble, stone, and granite in the Greek classical style, some of the most gorgeous buildings on earth. The taxpayers fund it, they pay for it, they upkeep, they provide electricity to, and no one's showing up. And what are they doing at home? Watching their favorite streaming shows? It's crazy. Of course they have to get back into the office because they work for everyone watching me today and watching you today. The illegal aliens that Joe Biden brought into our country are not full stop doing farm work. They are not. The illegal aliens he brought in from Venezuela, from Haiti, from Nicaragua, they are not doing farm work. They're in our cities collecting welfare. As for the farmers, there is a guest worker program. that President Trump supports. Over time as well, you will transition into automation, so we'll never have to have this conversation ever again. But there's no universe in which this nation is going to allow the previous president to flood our nation with millions and millions of illegal aliens who just get to stay here. And we are especially not going to allow a subset of those illegal aliens to rape and murder our citizens. There is probably no entity in the government that is more of an entrenched power center of unelected bureaucrats with less accountability, less oversight than USAID. They funnel money to their cronies all over the world through a swampy network of NGOs, non-governmental organizations. What Democrats are saying is they oppose democracy itself. They oppose the idea that the American people can elect a man, in this case our President Donald Trump, to reform the government according to the will of the people. This is a battle between the will of the people through their President Donald Trump and the will of an unelected federal bureaucracy. So we and President Trump are on the side of democracy.
My God, he is so good. And it doesn't matter who's on the other end, Jake Tapper or Laura Ingraham, they're getting it because we're not putting up with, BS anymore. We want the truth. We want to fix this country. It's being overran by communists, and we've had it. We've had it up to here, Laura Ingraham, Martha McCullum. We've had it up to here, Jake Tapper, way beyond your imagination. You know, radical leftist lunatic. I wrote a book about you guys a couple years ago. Radical leftist lunatics, and certainly many of these people are in that category. We don't want that anymore. We want America that's free. We want America that's prosperous. We want our government to get the hell out of the way. So much damage in the government, to the American citizen is from the politician, and we're tired of it. And we've seen these nasty judges stand up against us. We've seen the Democrats, of course, quite frankly, they tried to kill President Trump. I still believe there's absolutely all sorts of evidence in that case that's not been addressed yet or found out. We don't even have, I believe, the final death certificate and or a ballistics report. I mean, there's so much missing from that Butler shooting. It's outrageous. So, anyways, we've got a lot to learn. So Stephen Miller, though, he just keeps rolling. This was one of my favorite pieces. I believe we showed it also yesterday. Here he is blasting Andrew Weissman, the snake Andrew Weissman, who's been hurting people for decades. And we'll get into that in a moment. But first, let's watch Stephen Miller destroy this nasty, dishonest, disgusting, liberal, lunatic, corrupt prosecutor and criminal, treasonous prosecutor as well. Watch this.
But let me play this first from somebody who I know is not a favorite of President Trump. This is Andrew Weissman, who's a former top Mueller prosecutor. Of course, it's not a huge surprise that he didn't like this operation. He doesn't think it's legal under the act that you just mentioned, Stephen. Watch.
We're not at war with Venezuela. We're not at war with the gang that is the subject of the executive order. There is no invasion that is going on. And you also have to show that the people you're removing are actually part of that gang, even if there were an invasion or a war. And this statute may, in fact, be very unconstitutional.
So the judge has to be convinced that these individuals aren't real. I mean, it's a huge group, and nobody's going to miss any of these people, but they're quantifiable. So can you prove that these individuals were linked with Tren de Aragua and that Tren de Aragua is part of a Maduro operation, Stephen?
So first of all, Andrew Weissman is an absolute moron. He is a moron, and he is a fool, and he's a degenerate. Andrew Weissman has devoted his career to putting innocent Americans in jail, taking away their civil liberties. He was involved in the Mueller coup against a democratically elected President Donald J. Trump. Weissman should never be on TV anywhere. He should hang his head in eternal shame for what he's done to this country. And now he's up there shilling for people who rape and murder Americans. That's who Andrew Weissman is. I met the mother of Jocelyn Nungary. Alexis Nungary, who President Trump honored at the State of the Union, named a national wildlife refuge after her daughter. Trained Nicaragua terrorists took that 12-year-old angel and they tortured her to death. They sexually assaulted her. They stripped her and they dumped her body in a river. That's who President Trump has deported from this country. Behind every single one of those terrorists was another future rape victim, another future sex trafficking victim, another future murder victim. And most importantly, every one of those people was here illegally. They have no right to be in this country for 1 second longer. They are illegal aliens, they are foreign terrorists, they are alien enemies. And the law at the heart of this issue was signed in the founding generation of this country, the same generation that wrote our Constitution. People say, oh, it's an 18th century law. You know what else is an 18th century law? The Constitution of the United States, the Bill of Rights of the United States. The founding generation gave us this law, gave President Trump this law to repel this invasion from our country.
there's
and it
no
was all detailed in the proclamation, how this gang was sent here by a foreign government, and President Trump is sending them out of this country.
Well, we look forward to learning.
Martha McCollum's worthless. She's disgusting to me. I'm sorry, Mike. I can't stand her. I stopped watching Fox on election night 2020. When Martha McCollum started talking down to me, shaming me for voting Trump, go to hell. That was the end. It was the end of me watching Fox. I'd been putting up with this for months up to that day. And I stopped. I said, no more. I don't care where I have to go. I'm going to go someplace else because I'm not going to take this abuse anymore. It was disgusting. Where was Fox when the election was stolen in 2020? Where were they? Where were they? They were the most sheeple, worthless individuals I've ever seen in my life. I've written 3 books on this. Have they ever brought me on? Have they ever said, hey, we need a professional auditor's opinion on what happened? No, because they didn't want it. How much evidence did they gain on Dominion? How much did they gain that they're not telling us about? There's a question. I'm telling you something right here. How much did Fox News gain on Dominion that they're not telling us? Instead, they pay off Dominion. I'm telling you again, I'll say it a third time. How much information did Fox News gain on Dominion that they're not telling us? I'm hinting at something here. If you haven't figured that out yet, I'm hinting at something here. That's Fox News. So I don't want to hear Martha McCollum standing up for Andrew Weissman anymore. We find out that Judge Boasberg, who no doubt Weissman shopped this case to because he and Norm Isom seem to be the dual devils from hell in any cases against Trump, making up lies. Like I loved it how Miller saying these guys are standing up for rapists, murderers, illegals. They're not even here legally. What the hell is wrong with these people? They're not on our side. They hate America. They hate you. They hate me. They hate us. They are disgusting. And that's what's going on. That's just disgusting. I reported yesterday on this case, and I'll report again. I'm going to keep reporting on it. Michael Sessa is sitting in prison today. He's been in prison for 33 years. He sent me a picture of him and his daughter. He noticed that I wasn't on the Weissman fan club like Martha McCollum. And he said, Joe, you got to look at my case. His attorney's been David Schoen, who helped represent President Trump in one of the impeachments. And Mike says, here's the story. And I list it all in a post at joehoff.com right now. It's also up at the Gateway Pundit right now. Michael was crucified by Andrew Weissman in this case. This is what set Weissman up for a career of total corruption. And I've talked to Roger Stone, Rudy Giuliani, Sidney Powell, Joe DeGeneva, David Schoen, all these guys say this is the biggest snake they've ever seen. He's disgusting. That's who Martha McCollum just brought on her show as an expert. Go to hell, Fox, for bringing that corrupt, crooked, sick individual on your show. He's gross. Do an investigation on him, DOJ. Find out how much he's worth. How much of that came through corruption in USAID? And by the way, the judge they shopped to, Boasberg, we're finding out that his wife and his two twin daughters are making lots and lots, millions of dollars via USAID / Soros to these NGOs. So Boasberg isn't going after Trump. He's going after the money that his family's making off the bogus theft from this country that Andrew Weissman's standing up for. It doesn't matter that these guys are killing Americans. This is how disgusting this is. This is big. This is big. I encourage you to pray for Mike Sessa. We're going to keep talking about him. I've got more information on him and what Weissman did to him. It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. And the FBI agent that was involved in the case as well, he later was prosecuted for the same crime that Mike Sessa was charged with. Outrageous, sick. All these guys started in the early years in New York, Eastern District. Weissman, James Comey, Loretta Lynch. What a gang of misfits and crooks, criminals and America haters. Jeez, what a nightmare that place must have been. And for Mike Sessa and others, it sure was. Whew. Another post we're going to encourage you to keep an eye on is this Orange County post I put up yesterday. There was a hearing a week ago, and it was in front of the Board of Supervisors of Orange County, California. Big county, maybe 5th, 6th, something like that. Largest county in the U.S. 6 U.S. House seats there. 5 of them went Democrat, even though it's a red county. Imagine that. And the individuals overseeing the election there keep saying everything's fine. They had a bomb threat. Everything's fine. We haven't found out who started it, who sent it. It's been a couple months now. We have no information on the bomb threat. They showed up with these 2 little trucks, and you're like, a big county like that, that's the best they have for a bomb squad? Are you kidding me? Are they that ill-equipped? So many questions. I'm telling you, keep your eyes on this. There's more to it. There's got to be more to it. Keep your eyes out on Orange County. I'm telling you. I'm telling you some clues today. I'm giving you some great information. Okay. Anyways, lots going on. LBJ has been one of the guys who's been implicated in JFK's murder. Actually, Roger Stone wrote a book about it. And here's a clip that came out just recently. I'm sure we shared it on the show. But it implicates LBJ. This was the information that just came out. So I think the deep state trickles some of this out so it's not so shocking when the news hits. You don't want to just absolutely destroy the CIA after this. So, and again, think about it. Why did Trump's CIA director prevent the release of the JFK files 8 years ago? Big question for Mike Pompeo there. Anyways, take a look at this video.
How's life treating you today?
Well, Saul, it's been a pretty touch and go situation. Linda and I have had quite a few unpleasant words here lately over the deal that he hired Mike Wallace to assassinate the president. It's been hectic in every way, but we've lived through it this far, and I guess we'll continue to do so. Lyndon should have never issued that order to Mike. But we've had our differences, and I'm a true blue to Lyndon, as I've always been, and tried to carry out every order that he'd ever given me. But this is one I'll probably never be able to forget. And the times that we've had in Texas, and the embarrassment that Lyndon had gotten from Kennedy, I guess there wasn't anything else to do but what he did.
Well, Lyndon could have really hit me if he would.
Well, Lyndon's the kind of person that doesn't want to help anyone. He's all for Lyndon, and that's the way he's pretty much always been.
Well, they had me backed up on that Henry Marshall killing, and they just kind of blackmailed me to keep my mouth shut. And if I hadn't had a bunch of tapes that I'd played after he got killed, because 17 got killed in this situation very mysteriously. And I've done a lot of time, and I've lost a lot of money, and it's hurt my family a whole lot. And it's really got me just disgusted with Lyndon. in one way I feel real sorry.
That tape is a friend, more than a friend, an accomplice of LBJ's, announcing that, LBJ hired Mac Wallace, to assassinate JFK, and he was involved in it. And these guys are admitting this. This tape was buried for years. Just came out here in the last half year. Imagine that. Imagine that nobody had that. What a joke. So anyways, we're supposed to hear more today on the JFK assassination. Roger Stone, as I mentioned, written a lot on this. Here's a clip of Roger Stone talking about the mob and JFK as well. Take a look at this.
Organized crime had a grudge against John F. Kennedy because John Kennedy's father, Ambassador Joseph Kennedy, who was a bootlegger and a partner of Frank Costello's in that illegal industry, had gone to the mob in 1959, late 1959, had gone to a conclave of all the mafia chieftains, which was called in Chicago by Sam Giancana, who headed the mob in Chicago, and all the family members were there. Santo Trafficante, the head of the mob in Florida, Carlos Marcello, who headed the mob in Texas and Louisiana, Frank Costello, who headed the mob in New York, Camel Humphreys, who headed the mob in Las Vegas, Mickey Cohn, who headed the mob in Los Angeles, and Ambassador Kennedy, who was a brash individual to say the least, said, "My son is going to be president. I'm not leaving here without $1 million, which in 1959 is an enormous amount of money." And Humphreys of Las Vegas and Mickey Cohn of LA got up and said, "You can go to hell. We own Dick Nixon. We've been contributing to him since his career began." And they left. Giancana got a broad agreement, and $1 million went to the Kennedy campaign. But more precisely, Ambassador Kennedy agreed that under the Kennedy administration, under a new Justice Department, the deportation proceedings against Carlos Marcello and Santo Trafficante, two of the most vicious gangsters of the time, would be dropped. The Eisenhower administration, under Attorney General Herbert Brownell, was seeking to deport both of them, and a deal was made. Of course, later, when Robert Kennedy became Attorney General, Ambassador Joseph Kennedy initially sat aside while Robert Kennedy proceeded in those deportation hearings. And Giancana went back to Ambassador Kennedy and said, "We had a deal." And Ambassador Kennedy said, "Well, the deal's changed. You guys own the Cal Neva Casino in Reno, Nevada, and I want a 50% interest in that property. And when I get that, well, then the deportation proceedings against Marcello and Trafficante will be dropped."
So they crossed the mob.
He double-crossed the mob. However, shortly thereafter, Ambassador Kennedy was felled by a debilitating stroke. He lost the ability to speak. He essentially became an invalid. He was no longer able to enforce the deal. By the way, the interest in the casino was transferred to Morton Downey Sr., who was a famous Irish tenor and crony of Ambassador Joseph B. Kennedy. So the mob was double-crossed, and that is their motive. More importantly, the mob also agreed to twist arms for John Kennedy, first in the West Virginia primary, and then in the general election in the state of Texas, as well as the state of Illinois, and they felt entirely and completely double-crossed. That's their motive.
I gotta tell you, Roger Stone's a hell of a historian as much as anything. He's just fantastic. So yeah, he's done a great job. I put a piece up on this morning, shared that video. So we're hoping to hear today more, and they're supposed to be releasing like 80,000 documents related to JFK and the assassination. So we will see. We're hoping we don't have egg in the face again. And let's hope Trump's saying he doesn't want anything redacted. Just get it out there. It's been 60 years, something like that. It's time. It's time to get it out. So no more cover up. No more covering up CIA, the whatever, the mob, whoever. We just want the truth. Give us the truth. That's all we want. That's all Americans want. We've been manipulated so long on so many different subjects. We're tired of it, you know. And thank God that's why you are coming here. So lots going on across the country today, and we will see what all transpires. Before we go to break, I want to again remind you, we've got an ad coming up here regarding this, but this is about the Oxford Group and the oil business that they are in now. And it's not about buying oil stocks. The way you can get rich or make some money anyways, very least, is collecting mailbox money from oil royalties instead. And that's what Oxford Group set up for us, talking about residual income that shows up month after month, starting with as little as 25 bucks. You can go to hoftoilboom.com to discover how to tap into the monthly royalty checks from America's most productive oil basin. You don't need to be wealthy or connected. You just need a brokerage account. So again, go to hoftoilboom.com, learn how you can start collecting oil royalty checks every month through this unique opportunity. So we're going to take a quick break. We'll be back right after that here on the Joe Hoff Show. Hi, this is Joe Hoff. Are you looking for monthly income without the risk of stocks? Here's something you won't hear about on CNBC. There's a unique way to collect royalties directly from America's most productive oil fields. No exploring, drilling, or operational headaches. You simply collect checks month after month. The best part? You can get started with just $25 through any brokerage account. The Oxford Club's chief income strategist, Mark Lechtenfeld, breaks down what he believes is the #1 royalty play for 2025. Visit hoftoilboom.com now to learn more. That's hoftoilboom.com, hoftoilboom.com. Stop buying oil stocks and start collecting oil royalty checks now instead.
In every thread, in every stitch, Honor-Bound USA weaves the fabric of the American spirit. It's not just apparel, it's a testament to God, family, and country. At Honor-Bound USA, we're a family of patriots who put our faith, family, and America first. When you visit our website, you'll find a line of products that embody our commitment to pray, stand, speak, and act. As the official site for the Untamed podcast, all of our products proclaim speaking the truth with courage. We also have the powerful documentary from Professor David Clements, Let My People Go. Identify yourself as one of the few who are willing to stand for what they believe in. Join the Honor-Bound USA family today. Wear it as a badge of honor, a commitment to the values that shape us, and a pledge to the bright future we will build together. Because when you're honor-bound, you're not just wearing a brand, you're embodying a lifestyle.
Hi, I'm Joe, Supreme Leader of DCF. What is DCF, you ask? We're the best damn sandwich shop in the universe. Do we sell hoagies? Well, we're DCF, and the F doesn't stand for hoagies. We got 9mm sandwiches, we got beastly baguettes, and we toast buns like no other. Looking for training on bun safety? We got you covered, and our ranges are the best place to test out your new Not sandwich. So get your buns out, cause the sun's out, and let's party! We're not actually a sandwich shop.
Hey, before we jump to our guest, I wanted to share one more piece. President Trump is encouraging illegals that came across the border under Joe Biden. He's asking them to turn themselves in, let us know where they're at, and he's even got an app that they can get on and notify the government, and they will be sent home and sent to where they want to go, I believe. So where their home is, and the U.S. government will pay for it. So we're hoping that a lot of people do that, and that's one way to save money on hunting these people down. Instead, they can go back home on their own. It was illegal for them to come in here in the first place. So, anyways, here's a quick clip of Trump making this request. Take a look.
People in our country illegally can self-deport the easy way, or they can get deported the hard way, and that's not pleasant. The Biden administration exploited the CBP-1 app to allow more than 1 million aliens to illegally enter the United States. Now my administration is launching the CBP Home app to give people in our country illegally an easy way to leave now and self-deport voluntarily. If they do, they could potentially have the opportunity to return legally at some point in the future. But if they do not avail themselves of this opportunity, then they will be found, they will be deported, and they will never be admitted again to the United States, ever again. You're never coming in. Using the CBP Home app to leave the United States voluntarily is the safest option for illegal aliens and our law enforcement. It also saves the U.S. taxpayer dollars and valuable CBP and ICE resources. And all of those resources are necessary to focus on dangerous criminal aliens, and that's what we're focused on. The CBP Home app is now available free across all mobile app stores, and I encourage those who have violated our laws to use this option today. Do it right and come back into our country. Do it wrong and you'll never be back again.
There you go. That's to all of the individuals in America that are not Americans that are here illegally, and President Trump's giving them an option on how to go home peacefully. So that's on the table. Unfortunately, that plane load of individuals that went to I was going to say El Magui. That's a Mexican restaurant. And then I go to El Salvador. So anyways, hey, I tell you what, we've got a great guest joining us now, and I'm really pleased to introduce you to him. I have not had him or met him before on the Joe Hoff Show, so it's a pleasure for me. I know a bit about him, and I'm anxious to know more. So without further ado, let me introduce to you Viva Frei. Welcome to the Joe Hoff Show.
Hey, Joe. Thank you for having me. Good to meet you.
Thanks for saving me there. El Salvador.
I don't know if I was on screen, but yes, it was El Salvador, not a restaurant.
I don't know if you go through that just blank. I'm like El Magui. I'm thinking, oh, they had some pretty good Mexican food. Free advertising for this St. Louis outfit. Anyways, yeah, there you go. Well, hey, welcome to the show. Thanks so much for being here. Why don't you start off, maybe kind of tell us all a little bit about yourself. I've read up on you a bit, but anxious to hear what you have to say.
I'm such a nice person. Even Media Matters for America has nothing bad to say about me. I sometimes get called a right-wing, extremist or whatever you want to call it. Born and raised in Canada, youngest of 5 kids, family of lawyers, practiced law for 13 some odd years. Got into the internet world. COVID hit, and then the world went crazy, and then. I look by luck and good fortune ended up down in the free state of Florida, working with Rumble, and it's all other than documenting the fall of a normal civilization in real time. Hopefully, we can rebuild. Other than that, it's been one heck of a wild ride.
And that's a pretty quick summary. Thanks, by the way. I saw you were born and raised not just in Canada but Montreal. Is that right?
Yep, Montreal, Quebec.
So you speak French?
Well, yeah. So I did my law degree at Université Laval, which is in Quebec City. So I was one of a dozen English kids in a faculty of 1,000 students, and wrote every exam except one in French. The one I wrote in English was my worst grade. It was criminal law, and I did it because I practiced law. I never thought I would ever be leaving Quebec, Montreal, Quebec, let alone Canada. And so, I practiced for 5 years at one of the biggest law firms in Canada. And being bilingual was, not just an asset, it was a necessity. And as fate would have it, ended up, relinquishing my bar license after I left to Florida because I no longer needed it. And the only good it was serving was people filing anonymous ethics complaints to the Bar Society because they didn't like my tweets. And if I never practice law again, it'll be too soon. I didn't really like the practice of law.
Wow. Well, I got to tell you, I've worked for a U.S. corporation out of St. Louis, Fortune 500 for years, and it started growing geographically. Started in the Midwest. First place they went was Canada, and then they started growing, and that's about when I joined them. I was in the auditing and finance area, and so I'd go up to Montreal. I loved that city. It was beautiful. Everything about it was spectacular. I just loved it. Cold.
It was. I mean, I think we're about the same age. I mean, it was for the longest time an amazing city. It's and I don't know if I've changed or the city's changed and everything's changed or both have changed. I go back there. I don't like going back there. The city has absolutely changed. I mean, it changed during COVID, but now you start to see some of the indications even before COVID. But it's not the same place anymore. Homelessness is out of control. They've now implemented these open air safe injection sites, but 2 blocks from where I used to live. 2 blocks is an exaggeration, but maybe 2 kilometers from where I used to live, in one of the most beautiful areas in Montreal. There's been a demographic shift. It's not the place where I grew up, and it's not the safe place where I grew up. Where I used to live in Lower Westmount, we had a stabbing down the street, a shooting at the Atwater intersection of Atwater. It's gone downhill so fast. I didn't think it was possible, but it used to be an absolutely beautiful, vibrant, European culture, European architecture, good food, and now it's not that anymore.
Yeah. Well, yeah. The food was incredible. The underground that you had in the winter where you could walk through it was spectacular. The people were all nice. I love the French speaking. A pretty girl that speaks French, that's like bonus points. It's just, and I was single at the time, so I just loved that city.
It was
a great place.
I haven't been single since I was 19, but and it's probably been the biggest blessing of my life. But the Montreal Underground, actually, that was one of the bigger lawsuits that I ever was involved in, which involved a rite of passage between 2 adjacent and rivaling neighbors. And yeah, we've got it's like, I don't know if it's 10 kilometers. It's several kilometers of underground interconnected. You can get from one end of downtown to the other, access to all the shopping centers, the metros, as a result of this network of underground. And they're not tunnels. They're like the shopping centers. It's beautiful. Yeah, now you go through that. You go through that network of underground tunnels filled with homeless people. In the Atwater section, a native guy was found dead. Just Lord knows how long he had been dead for. Where I used to live. So it's amazing how much. I'll say one party, but it's sort of like an interplay between the provincial and the federal, and federal policy and failed provincial and municipal policy destroyed the city in no time at all.
That's too bad. I remember there once too. I went there and I bought a leather jacket. It was the dollar was like maybe $1 Canadian equals 50 cents US, and I got a gorgeous jacket downtown at some real nice leather shop.
Oh no,
it was awesome.
We're getting back to those levels of disparity between the dollars now. I think it's at 65 cents US to $1 Canadian. So it's good. It's good to be traveling up there. It's not so good for Canadians to be coming down here. And now they've found their scapegoat as to the excuse as to why they don't want to come anymore. Not because the dollar is so terrible and because they don't make they're not making American dollars and they're going to come down here and pay in American dollars. Now they got to blame it on Trump and the tariff war. So
right. Do you think Trump? This is a great segue. Do you think Trump is doing these comments about considering Canada becoming a state, saying these things of Trudeau being a governor, which is just the greatest? Trump's the greatest troller ever. He's just so great. I mean, this weekend, another example, he trolls Biden's auto pin with a picture of him on each side, and then he comes out and says, we're not going to recognize these pardons. Just brilliant what he does. But do you think the Canada situation, I think Trump's got a really big heart. Do you think he's trying to help people of Canada perhaps save it?
Well, I think he's trying to help the people of Canada save it, not by amalgamating it into the U.S. Like I take flack even from fellow Canadians who say, no, he's serious, Viva. And I was like, I don't think he's serious in the sense that he doesn't want a much of Canada to join the U.S. Like you want more Michigans and Californias and New York State to join the states. You don't want Ontario. You sure as heck don't want. And I say this with no, not to demean or denigrate Quebec. You want to absorb a province that wants to separate from the Federation of Canada. I mean, it's not a serious proposal in my view. What it is serious negotiation, where he's reminding Canada who you are in this relationship of North American alliances. You are the little brother. I'm the big brother. I'll needle you and call you Governor Trudeau, Governor Carney, who I don't think he's met with yet. But I don't think he's serious about Canada becoming the 51st state. I don't think he wants 50% of the political demographic of Canada. You want to increase people who are anti-Second Amendment. You want to increase the number of people who are anti-free speech. So genuinely don't believe it, but there are a lot of Canadians who think that he is serious. What I think it is negotiation to cause Canada to tighten up its borders and to renegotiate NAFTA, which has been a sort of a one-way exploitive relationship to the benefit of Canada, and to remind Canada, we might need some things from you, access to the North. We might need some things from you, national security. And so I'll remind you who's the little brother in this relationship, but no serious aspirations of incorporating all of Canada, perhaps with the exception of some of the minerals and natural resources. But then you're talking about resources which don't require the population. And I'm sure he's negotiating his way to something of an agreement in that respect.
Yeah, that. And what about the national security of the U.S.? I mean, the Arctic's become more and more important, I think, and China and their influence and their efforts to kind of begin to influence this hemisphere. I think that's part of it too, maybe.
Well, there's no question. Shipping routes, access to the North, and access to the world from there. And I was thinking the other day, is it a result of climate change and melting ice caps or increasing technology? One way or the other, it's becoming a part of the world that is going to be essential in terms of navigation, potentially trade routes, but certainly national security. I mean, as it stands now, the national security threat that's coming from Canada is at the border. It's with our immigration policies. And if this was just a pretext or a ploy to get the world to understand exactly what's going on in Canada, where now 1 in 4 Canadians is born outside of the country. You got millions of student visas going to these students who 5 to 10% don't end up showing up to class. And then you get record numbers of people nabbed crossing the border who are on terror watch lists. If this was nothing more than a pretext to raise that awareness to the world, that already is a mission accomplished. But the unfortunate reality is, at least in the short term, the Liberals are using this as something of a method of increasing their support at the base level, to say now we've got an enemy to fight, and so rally behind the Liberals. So it's been something of a short-term bump for the Liberals, but I think it's going to be a long-term loss for them anyhow, because it's highlighting that they've turned Canada into a I don't want to use hyperbolic, a hellhole, and they have. Yeah. There are cities in Toronto, in Ontario, you don't go to. The crime in Toronto and Ontario through the roof. Crime in British Columbia through the roof. You got police issuing police statements in a language that's neither French nor English. You got the police telling people to leave your fobs at the front door because the criminals are armed. You're not, but they are. And so just give them your keys because that's all they want. And then you get, death is government sanctioned murder is the top 4 leading cause of death in Canada. It accounts for 4% of all death in Canada. Healthcare system is in shambles, but right now the Liberals get to pretend that Donald Trump is the cause of all of this madness and not Liberal policy itself.
That's what's sad, but also a big part of that, other than, well, thank God for Twitter and now just Rumble and other sites like this, Gateway Pundit and others that we can share the truth, which a lot of people are getting the truth that way, but the mainstream media there is terrible, right?
In Canada, people complain about propaganda media in the States. Imagine it on steroids and then state funded to a point where you could not possibly understand. My audience, I talk about it all the time, maybe even too much. Radio-Canada, CBC, these are crown corporations. They're funded by taxpayer dollars to the tune of like $1 billion annually. That doesn't include advertising. That doesn't include bailouts. That doesn't include, COVID ads and government ads. They exist not at the whim of the government, but they're indebted to the government. And now you have Mark Carney, the Liberal guy, coming in, and the Liberals are promising to double the budget of the CBC and Radio-Canada, where the Conservatives are promising to defund them. And so you've already got a captured media who are now seeing their very existence threatened by the potential political rival. What do you think they're going to do? I mean, they've sued the Conservative Party back, I think it was 2018, 2019, for copyright infringement, because the Conservatives were using state-funded media footage in their promotional political campaigns, and they sued them for copyright infringement. So it's so much worse in Canada than anybody thinks it is, as bad as anybody thinks it is in America, which it is, on steroids. And there's no, I won't say there's no Rogan type force in Canada. There are, you got Rebel News, you got True North, you got Jordan Peterson, although he's down in the States now. You've got voices like mine, which, even some Canadians are starting to get irritated with, because I'm not nationalistic enough to ignore all the problems going on in Canada. But it's legacy state-funded media dominated to the point where it controls people's perceptions of reality.
I lived in Hong Kong for about 10 years, and I could see over there, especially I visited Australia a lot, very similar to Canada, I felt, in a lot of ways. Just the mentality, good people, great people, but the media was just like that, just toxic. The only American media that they'd pick up would be like CNN or whatever. It was just, and so these people over there, I was in Australia when Trump won in 2016. I was at a board meeting actually that day, and I'm sitting in this meeting, and I didn't give a damn what anybody said. I wanted to know the results of that election, and Trump won. And I got a picture of me with the flag out by the Opera House, Trump mega flag, and so I'll never forget that. But I was like the anomaly. There was, we did a board dinner a couple of days later. Nobody in there was a Trump supporter. They were all shocked.
Imagine, go to Canada, and you go to Canada now, and after a decade of liberal rule, after a decade of liberal policies causing the downfall of Canada, their anger and their rage is directed at Trump for a tariff dispute. I mean, they forget that these problems, which they now are being brainwashed into thinking were caused by the Trump tariff war, have existed for the better part of a decade, if not more, and were created or exacerbated by liberal policy. And so you got in Canada, 1 in 4 children lives in a household with food insecurity. In Canada, the healthcare system waiting for a doctor results in something like 74,000 deaths since 2018. Something like 15,000 people died waiting in ERs over the last 6 or 7 or 8 years. I might be off on the years, but these are catastrophes of government incompetence in Canada. And they've been, within a month or two, whipped up into a frenzy where they're booing the national anthem and going rah, rah, rah for the failed liberal policy that has caused them to live in despair, poverty, and anguish. And so it's great when you have the CBC, CTV News, Global News, all of the state-funded media, or at least state-reliant media, pulling the line or towing the line. It's easy to control the masses. And if you want to, know something, listen to something scary, Joe, go listen to daytime radio in Canada, in Montreal. I mean, I've been blocked by everyone on CJAD. I forget what it stands for. It's the Montreal Daytime Radio, because they are literally violent, promoting fascists of the highest order. And they've all blocked me on social media because I, call them out on their coercion of children to get vaccinated, tolerating violence against certain political officials, but not against others. Do you remember the incident? I'm going to go on a rant here. When someone threw gravel at Justin Trudeau at a campaign stop in 2021. I mean, it's.
I remember once somebody tried to slap him or something like that, right?
This was this. I don't know if there's several incidents. This was just one I distinctly remember because some idiot threw gravel at Trudeau, and they were calling this political violence. There's no room for Trump-like violence in Canada. And then I call up the radio and I said, "Do you not remember? I ran for the People's Party of Canada. Someone smashed an egg on the head of Maxime Bernier. He's the leader of the PPC, the People's Party of Canada, and the guy on the radio referred to the gentleman who hit an egg on this guy's head. Oh, but Maxime's life wasn't in danger. He never, feared for his life." This is how these state-funded propaganda outlets rationalize political violence when it's against their political rivals. So it's not just an indoctrinated place. It's a dangerous place because they will rationalize whatever they want to rationalize based on their political ideology.
It's fascism, isn't it? Isn't there? There's one lady that was like number 2 or 3 under Trudeau, maybe still is. Her grandfather, we found evidence that her grandfather was a Nazi.
No, came over to Canada. Yeah, Chrystia Freeland is a known descendant of that branch of Ukrainian history, which is why because these idiots are idiots and have no historical knowledge or anything, they invited a literal what did they call the SS volunteer? I don't need to mention his name. They invited a literal Nazi to Parliament because they were celebrating the fact that he fought the Russians in World War II. Chrystia Freeland,
I remember that.
Oh, it's laughably stupid. But Chrystia Freeland, and I'm pronouncing her name the way she once pronounced it for good reason. She posed in a photo to support Ukraine, and there was a Nazi or a Nazi origin, Nazi affiliated flag in the picture. She then deletes the tweet and then reposts it after having asked the person to leave. But the internet's forever, and these are the people dictating Canadian foreign policy. People are dying in Canada, literally starving in Canada, literally ODs, record numbers. And they're sending off billions and billions of dollars to Chrystia Freeland's home nation, or at least that of her family. She's born in Canada, to support the war in Ukraine. Well,
we saw her laughing at these truckers when they shut down all their bank accounts, when they did that Trump or truck rally a couple years back. It was like laughed at it.
Yeah, no, I was on the streets, live streaming that 12 or 13 days of that protest. They invoked the Emergencies Act. No court order, no judicial oversight, froze bank accounts. Some of them are still frozen. The guy named Pat King, who he was convicted on nonviolent mischief, some of these bullcrap charges after he was detained and denied bail for 6 months because of mischief. His bank account is still frozen for other judicial reasons relating to the trucker protest. But they froze bank accounts. They ruined people's lives over supporting a political movement that the government disagreed with. And they bypassed judicial oversight by invoking War Times Emergencies Act, and they rationalized it to themselves. And a great many Canadians took no issue with this tyranny from the government.
How did you end up where you're at, mentally, politically? How could you have landed, conservative, sitting in this land where you're getting force-fed this misinformation from the left?
Well, I might shock a number of your viewers. I was politically ignorant and politically unaware until about, let's just say 2016, 2017. In 2015, I live in the most liberal riding everywhere and anywhere. I voted for Trudeau in 2015 and the first time he came to office. Not because I knew a damn thing, not because I held any justified view. I mean, I'm in a district where it doesn't matter how you vote, and you may as well feel liberal by voting liberal. And so I voted for Trudeau in 2015, not knowing a thing, not caring about anything in the world. If I had known then what I knew now, holy crap, I'd probably be in jail by now in Canada. But and then, you start paying attention to things slowly, then quickly. 2016 comes around, Bill C-16. That's when Jordan Peterson became prominent with compelled speech arguments in Canada. 2017, a little more. 2018 is where I really started to really wake up, although it started primarily with Trump in 2016. When I started doing YouTube videos on certain subjects, I'm like, oh, these are getting censored and removed from YouTube for no good reason. Then, then you start paying more and more attention. And then 2020 comes, and then you realize the world that you lived in is not the world you thought it was. And I don't even consider myself conservative. I haven't changed on some, socially liberal policies. I got no problem with gay marriage. I got no problem with traditional, leftist ideas. But then you realize that they have been a corrupt, traitorous party from day one. And you understand what happens when they get full control over the media and control over the masses. So how I ended up in Florida is just happenstance. But the Great Awakening started with Trump, and then COVID was the avalanche.
How about Robert Barnes? Did he help you with that?
Yeah, when I first interviewed him, it was in the context of Covington kids, where we all started realizing how maliciously defamatory the media and politicians were, and then I was still wet behind the ears and not quite as cynical as I say cynical. Barnes is cynical but optimistic at the same time. But he contributed to my learning curve and also contributed to revealing what I didn't know about things that I didn't even know there were to be known. But it's been that's been the most fortuitous, life-altering or life trajectory-altering encounters was me meeting Barnes, getting our thing going during COVID, and turning it into what we have now, which is just an amazing, an awesome, amazing community online that is after the truth and only the truth.
Wow, fantastic. Actually, I could tell you some of my shock here. Robert actually represented me at one time, back in 2020, as a matter of fact, and had to deal with COVID, by the way.
Well, I can tell you one thing. What I know you and people never know what I know, and I will never tell you what I knew that I knew, or what I didn't know. But I never asked Robert who he represents, because it's sort of that in and of itself is solicitor-client privilege unless it's already publicly known.
Yeah. Well, there you have it. I'll fill you more next time you come on. I'd love to have you back. It's fantastic talking to you. Real easy to talk to you. I'd love to talk about that incident and Robert as well.
No, I'm sure we could have that, and this is it's like we've only scratched the surface. I know it's been an awakening for a lot of people, and it has to happen slowly, because if it happens too quickly, the tree can bend, but if the winds are too strong, then it breaks, and we want to be flexible wood, not fractured splinters.
Yeah, and always right, by the way, too.
Yeah, we'll all make mistakes. I like to put my mistakes, my corrections more on blast than the mistakes. But yes, it helps not to make stupid mistakes.
No kidding, no kidding. And by the way, I'm not far from you. I'm a couple hours north of you.
You're in Florida.
Yeah.
Oh well, then we might be able to do something.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
That'd be great.
Yeah, I'll keep in touch. Thanks so much for coming out. Really appreciate it.
My pleasure. Thank you very much.
Yeah, take good care.
All right, bye bye.
And we will be back tomorrow with another great guest. Cannot wait. That was fun. Viva Frei. Lots of fun. And El Salvador. Thank God he showed up to tell me that. Anyways, we'll see you tomorrow. Thanks so much for visiting, and we will share more truth. It's going to keep coming at you tomorrow. Thanks for being here. We'll see you then.